Can you see yourself?
Yeah.
All right, let's gotta step back. They gotta be able to see you too. Where are you going?
I just want you to talk by yourself.
By myself? You don't want to be in my video?
No,
Oh, come on.
I don't.
You're gonna be the star of the video.
No, I don't want to be.
Hello?
Hello.
If you've been watching this channel for a while now, then you know that my wife and I are right in the thick of rehabbing this really old farmhouse. And this project is a little bit different than our typical project because we're gonna be living in this house and we're gonna build some rentals, some tiny houses or yurts or something that we can rent out on the other 10 acres and possibly on the 34 acres right next to it. We're considering buying that acreage as well. So in this video, I want to give you an update of the progress so far. We're 7 weeks into owning this property. And I also wanted to talk through some of the issues that we've had to get beyond so far, and then how a scope of work can play a critical role in a project like this and make it go much smoother. Let's go. Today is December 13th and we bought this house mid-October, so we're about 7 weeks into this project. And I feel like we're making some really good progress, but one of the biggest challenges that comes up on a house like this house was built in 1853, so we're talking pre-Civil War era. So when you deal with a house that's almost 170 years old, you're bound to find some unknowns. And there was 2 different additions that were done over time. From what we can tell, there's 2 different additions done over that 170 years. And so we're trying to modernize the layout. We want to keep a lot of the old charm, but modernize the layout. And so this house was never really meant to be opened and modernized in terms of, you know, the way people live today. It was very choppy and broken up. So our challenge was to take that layout and maximize all the square footage, because this house isn't actually that big. It's about 1,800 square foot upstairs. I'm standing in the basement. This was one of the additions. So I think it's about 800 square foot down here, and we're gonna finish, you know, the lower level basement. This will just be like a kid's play area. But upstairs, we wanted to maximize every single square foot. The second thing we did was spent a ton of time with the drawings. So my wife came in here and we got out graph paper and we just laid it all out to where we could maximize every square inch. And I think this room that I'm standing in right now, this is our master bathroom, and I think this was our biggest splurge. And sometimes you're just gonna be in a situation where you can't move square footage. So because of where the staircase was, this was sort of our master suite. And so we decided that the bedroom itself, all we really needed was room enough for the bed. And so we made this master bathroom pretty big. There's going to be 2 shower heads over here and then, you know, a seat, and it's much bigger than we actually need, but this was kind of our biggest splurge. And then we have 2 closets, and then the bedroom itself really is just big enough for our king size bed. And we kind of wish we could have taken this square footage and put it more toward the living area, but since we're going to have to keep it in the master bathroom or in the master suite, we decided just to make it part of the bathroom. So what's the process for utilizing a scope of work? Well, I'll walk you through step by step. So the first step, right after you get a property under contract, the very first thing you do, day 1, you haven't closed on it, you haven't purchased it, that's 30 days down the road. Day 1, when you get it under contract, show up. I show up to the property and I'm taking pictures of absolutely everything, every detail. Inside, outside, I want to document this whole house. You can take a video as well. And then, like I mentioned on this project, you get a professional inspection because you're bound to overlook things that a professional inspector will find. So you take your pictures, you take your inspection, you sit down at your computer at home right away. This is like week 1 or a couple days after you get it under contract, and you fill out your scope of work. You go through line by line, and you'll see in the scope of work template, it's separated by exterior and interior, and then it's room by room, and it details every single item that you want done. So every SKU number of every single piece of material that you want, every type of tile, every change you want. You want to swap out the door, the old door with the brand new door. You want to change a light fixture. You just mention it as a line item in your scope of work. And this allows you to be on the same page with your contractor. So now that you got your scope of work, I brought in my assistant to help me with the third step. So the third step is to walk through now with your contractor, and that way you'll be on the exact same page when it comes to exactly what you want done. And unfortunately, most people skip the first 2 steps of taking all the pictures, documenting everything, getting the inspection, and then creating their scope of work. The first thing people do when they get a property under contract is they call their contractor. Is that funny? Yeah. They call their contractor and they walk through with the contractor, and they say, what's the price? And the contractor has, what he's envisioning is what you want is totally different from what you actually want in that project, because you did not document the entire scope of work and let them know exactly this is what you're bidding on. Now, finally, the fourth step is to come to an agreement and sign a contract with the contractor that ties everything together. It ties your scope of work with any drawings that you might have, with the timeline and benchmarks that you have for, when the payments will occur throughout the project, and maybe any penalties if they come in late. And so all of this ties together, but the central dictating document is the scope of work. And I always recommend then you're going to do regular walkthroughs with your contractor, and you always have that scope of work in your hand, because this is what we agreed to right up front. It's not he said, she said. It's not I told you I wanted this done, and he says, I don't remember you saying that, or I interpreted that as X, Y, and Z. So over time, the scope of work will become less important as you grow a relationship with specific contractors and they start to understand what your expectations are. But right up front, when it's the first time you're working with a contractor, it is critically important to have an extremely detailed scope of work. And finally, one pro tip: if it's the first time that you're working with a specific contractor, so your first time you're bidding to a contractor, one thing I always recommend doing on the very first time is to just bid out the labor. So you tell the contractor, I'm going to buy all the materials, you're just going to bid on the labor. So they're still going to be able to see the scope of work, what all is involved in this project, and they just bid the material part of it. And then you go make sure that you're picking up the materials when they're needed. So it's much more involved for you. It's probably not your best use of time long term, but it virtually eliminates the ability to get screwed the first time you're working with a contractor. And a lot of times that's when you get to know the contractors on that very first time, because you're paying them as they're completing work. So they complete the demo, you pay them. They complete the framing, you pay them. They complete the drywall, you pay them. So they're working and you're paying them, as opposed to them saying, well, I need a $50,000 deposit right up front so that I can go buy materials. So like I said, you can download your free scope of work template in the description. There's a link right there, and that's in Word format. So you can edit it and tailor it to your next project so that you can share it with your contractor and he will know exactly what you want done on that project. I'm excited to continue to bring you updates and lessons learned on this project and others like it. Most of the lessons learned were learned the hard way. So I'm excited to help prevent you from making the same mistakes that I've made along the way. So you know the deal. If you liked this video, then give it a like below. If you loved it, then you can hit the subscribe button and be notified when other videos similar to this on helpful rental investing related topics come out. I release videos on this channel on a weekly basis. Also, you can join the Facebook group and have conversations with other really smart rental property investors. I hope to see you there, but if not, you can check out one of the other videos that just popped up to my right here, one of the 2 videos. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.